Hello and welcome to part 1 of a colored pencil on gray paper drawing. In front of me is a 9 by 12 inch piece of tone gray sketch paper and a good number of Prismacolor pencils. Now, some of these, the vast majority of these pencils are of the scholar or like the student quality. A few of them are the premier quality, which is fairly expensive. But really what I did was I bought a 48 pack of the student quality pencils at Walmart. They sell them a bit cheaper than most art stores. And then I filled in whatever I end up using up with similarly colored pencils that you can buy individually at, say, Michael's or just an art store. So what I'm going to do today is draw a landscape. Now I don't know what this landscape will actually look like, but I got a few basic ideas and I think I'll just go play by ear, I suppose. Now important to know is that we have this Prismacolor Premier colorless pencil. Now what this does is it's like a blending pencil. Sharpen it a little bit. It's a blending pencil, which means after, say, you apply some actual color onto it, you can use it to blend together and just get rid of the annoying white holes that you may end up with if you don't blend it out. So let's start out with a few of our greens. Now, a lot of my greens are of the higher quality premier ones. That's because I like to use greens a lot in my drawings. So I use up all my green a lot. Same my blues, which is why I tend to have a lot more premier color pencils in either blue tones or the greens, although white is also a common one, and I do need to buy a lot of the blender pencils since we do run through them quite quickly. So let's start out, and I think I'll have a drawing with a lot of grass, some trees, and maybe a mountain in the back. And I think I'll add in a lake somewhere in the middle too. Alright, so let's start out around here and figure out where our grass will be. So I'm thinking of maybe there's like a nice grassy bank along here overlooking a lake. So I'm thinking the sun. Let's have the light source come from out here. So everything facing the side will be lighter. So we'll use a light green. This one's called apple green. That of a Granny Smith. And let's get some basic shapes and indications of where our grass is going to grow. Now, apple green is a fairly light green. You don't have to worry too much about not being able to get the colors to go over it. My general rule is with color pencils, work from light into the dark, since you can't really erase color pencils very well, so it is a good idea to start with the lighter colors. Get an idea for it. Now, maybe around here it flattens out. So at the foot of this little raised area, let's use some dark green. Now this one's actually called dark green. And so we'll just create some shadows around here. Oops. Okay, now we continue with the apple green and get a bit color on top of there. Blending over. Now the reason why I use Prismacolor pencils and not, say, the really cheap Crayola ones is because the Crayola pencils don't really blend as well as these do. These are very rich in color. So if you have, say, like a 10-year-old child who just kind of likes to draw around, then yeah, go for Crayola ones. I know that when I was younger, I break my pencils all the time. Don't know how you managed to do that, but it happens. But if you're really looking forward to, if you're really looking to actually draw something really good, can't go wrong with Prismacolor. And you can get these. Prismacolor is probably the biggest company of artist quality color pencils out there. They're not exclusive to art stores as a lot of other high-end art brands are. You can get a set of Prismacolor Scholar pencils from Walmart, as I said. The 48 pack cost about 21 Canadian dollars, which is really quite cheap for a 48 set. Though I suspect that was just incorrect pricing on their part, because the 24 set was half a dollar cheaper. So, you know, prices probably changed. So we're just continuing to lay in some areas of darker green and then going over them with our grass green, a lighter green color. And with that, we are creating the illusion that we have these like little trenches. Now go in with the blender pencil. This makes the color so much richer because it fills in the white holes that a 2D paper will leave. Now, with paper, I always recommend getting paper with a bit of tooth to it. So don't use like your standard copy paper, because that stuff is too smooth for art usage. What happens is that your pencils won't be able to get their color on top to get it to stick. This 2D paper grabs more color. So we're going to continue using this dark green color. You see, we sort of laid out this kind of series of bumps and trenches along this way. Now, you know what? Let's go for something a bit new. We'll take a few browns, dark brown, sienna, terracotta, and maybe the white. Sharpen the white a bit. See, the one reason why I like to use gray paper for my color pencil drawings is gray and black paper. Your color will show up better on them on black paper because everything's black. So you're actually making things lighter. One major problem with color pencils is that you can't get dark enough. So on black paper that becomes a non-issue, and with gray paper you can use white. So for instance, maybe around here there's a little bit of exposed dirt or rock or something like that, and it just goes down like this. It's not too big, it's just this little bump. Use some of that sienna, so lighter color to get the bottom, and use a little bit of the white to lay highlight on top. Oh, yeah, sometimes sharpening too sharp isn't a good idea because it might break on you. Now you do have to be careful with Prismacolors. You don't want to be dropping them on the floor or anything, which is why I don't recommend them to someone who's too young. They cost quite a bit. All art supplies seem to cost quite a bit, and if you just like accidentally drop it on like a hardwood floor, you might end up shattering all the pigmented stuff inside. So what you end up with is you'll find that your pencil might have a broken lead, and then you sharpen it, and then the next piece is also broken because everything inside just got shattered from that one fall. Now we're continuing the grass here. Now maybe along here, let's add a bit of white to show that this grass here is also kind of gray. It's also got this little ridge that's being exposed to the sunlight. And maybe along here too, since what you have here is a separate ridge of lighter color. And here's like the trench or shadow area. No, actually, I would recommend if you decide to buy your pencils at Michael's, since that's the place I go to, I would recommend picking up the apple green color. It's one of the premier colors, so here in Canada it's going to cost like $2 for a pencil, but Michael's often has coupons on their website, which really helps when you may want to get into art, but you're not on a very big budget. Now back to the blender. And blend along there. Careful along the edges that you don't accidentally damage the paper or anything. As I say that. But, okay, so we're continuing along this area. This is kind of like the second ridge of color. So in order to distinguish it from the ridge, let's use a bit of white, and we'll just gently lay down a bit of it there. Don't want too much. Only enough to separate this from the side above. But what we don't want is lines, like a white line or anything to separate. Separation of different layers should be accomplished by dark and light, not with a line or anything. So one of the major mistakes you see people who may be beginners to shading would be that, say they have like a dark area and a light area, and they just separate with a hard line. What you want to do is use basically have one area just be darker than the other. That's how you achieve the separation, not by just straight up drawing a darker line. Now, looking through my colors, because there is here it is. This is olive green. There's one in the Scholar line and one in the Premier line. I pretty much used up the one I had in the Scholar line that came with a 48 pack, so I'm using, so I bought a new one. So what this is, as I say, don't draw pencils. So what this is is a more dull color than the dark green or the apple green. And I mean, it's darker than the apple green, but it's a bit dull. It's got a bit of brown in it, this brownish tint, kind of like an olive. So what it does is it helps dull down the grass color for when you don't want your grass to look so bright. Now, always think of how land flows, right? So we're working on a long, sort of this like line, like our line is flowing up here. Our strokes aren't up and down. Since in my mind this grass isn't super close to us, so you might not be able to see, individual blades going up. And it's also a lot easier this way since it just feels more natural to lay clear down. So you have this other okay, maybe I shouldn't be going into so many pencils at once. So now what we have is multiple layers. So we have this one ridge up here, the second ridge here, and this third ridge here. And what I'm doing is I'm covering the darker colors with green and then blending it with a blender stick or blender pencil. The second ridge, gives you how to do it, and as you may be able to see, the dark color got a lot. Well, it looks like it actually got darker, but that's just the dark color filling in the holes that it had before. Alright, and once again, we use the white and the spring green, which is the lightest kind of like yet neon-y green that you should really get. There's not too many cases where you need a green lighter than this. What the spring green does is you can use it to highlight some of the areas. So let's just take the white across here, following where the rest of this ridge kind of goes, going down, dipping here. Go back to the top ridge. So this is where the sunlight will shine onto the grass and the tips of it. You'll see some light. Alright. So now what I'm thinking of is maybe there's another ridge. It kind of goes along here. Maybe it goes from this side and kind of just extends down into here. Yeah, let's do that. So for this, since it is a completely different plane, I will start out using the lightest color we have, lightest green we have, which is the spring green. From the Scholar pack, you can use the one called pale green, although I don't recommend using the color called neon green in the Scholar for 8-pack. The pale green is just more applicable for actual drawing since it's not as artificial looking. And lay the apple green beneath the spring green. It's one step darker, so once again we're achieving separation between this plane and this plane right here. Now, with colored pencils, you usually want to work from the area closest to you and outwards because unlike, say, oil painting, so, I'm a big fan of Bob Ross, but he starts from the sky because every single layer he puts on top, you can, go over other areas by painting, right? But with colored pencils, once you have this green hill, I'm not going to be able to go over it. Just cover it up. I won't be able to use a light color and cover it up. Although I could probably use a black and you know, make a house or something there, but so yeah, let's have it go up here. Boy, this is a lot of grass. And this is sort of why I have so many of these green colors, because I end up using them all up. This is how. This is a very pencil intensive style. If you don't like using a ton of basically colored pencil every drawing, try using black paper. You can get a lot more visible I guess a lot more visible effect for how much of the pencil you actually use. So with this, you know, these pencils were new before, and I drew one drawing, and you know, I already used up a significant amount of a lot of these greens. So the white is a new green, a new pencil. So this was with one drawing. If you're going to use gray paper, you're going to run through a lot of your colored pencils. But at the same time, I feel as if it gives you some of the best effect. So maybe with this layer, going along this ridge, you got quite a few similar ridges like that. So start with the dark green. Just kind of follow the line flows down. And also on this little side too. And the other side. So we got these like little bumps in the ground. I'm not a huge fan of putting everything into a flat. It's like a flat piece of land. I prefer it to have a bit of body to it. So you see the blender pencil is letting me blend this color. Maybe we'll use a bit of the olive green. Now there is a green called grass green in this set. There's one for the Scholar and one for the Premier pencils. It's kind of like that more standard colors. This one. So as you can see, it's got this like emerald color. I personally don't like to use it too much, since I feel as if, okay, yeah, there's a lot of places with grass of that color, but personally I feel as if it's a bit too much towards the blue side to be adequately used for grass. I like to use it for trees though, strangely enough. Now back to the dark green, and we'll go from the bottom, kind of pull upwards. Now I like to kind of move the paper around. Some people like to tape their paper to the sides. That could, you know, help protect the sides, and you end up with this like nice little frame from the tape once you peel it off. But personally, I'm not a big fan of that, since I really like to move my drawing about and get at different angles. So, but you can do it if you want. Now we have this one nice little bump. I'm just going to use a bit of the white. Helps the separation of our different planes, which is what we're looking for. Now actually, this bump will go a bit higher than the others. Since my mine is closer, so it'll appear bigger. So again, we're using the apple green. The apple green is our front line, most of our body is done with the dark green and the apple green. And it's also good to use these two colors because the dark green is just like the apple green on the warmer side of the greens. You also got these like bluish greens, such as this peacock green. I should show you right here. And this peacock green, it airs closer to the side of blue. Now, the apple green is a very yellowish green. You could call it yellow green, so it made sense. And so, if we just blend it out to get the color, you can see that the dark green is also got this yellowish tinge, while the peacock green has this kind of bluish, almost teal-like color. And I just find that it's better to go with a dark color that just looks like a darker version of your light color. This peacock green is a bit too blue for the apple green. Olive green is also good because it's, kind of this brownish color, and brown is, make a really dark yellow and you basically get brown. So that's a peacock. Peacock green is good for trees, especially pine trees, since there's quite a few types of spruce and whatnot, and actually just pine. Their color is really dark. That's where peacock green comes handy. There's quite a few trees, coniferous trees, that have a bit of a bluish tinge. And one thing that is quite important is that when you're drawing things, you should always remember to draw what you see. So, for instance, the sky isn't always blue. A leaf isn't always green. In certain lighting, leaves can appear all sorts of colors. At a distance, a tree may appear bluish because of, there's some mist and fog, maybe a bit of pollution. And all that kind of makes things at a distance look a bit bluish. Picks up the color of the sky, I suppose. And once again, we're using the blending pencil. And once again, it's kind of at the very top of this mound of earth and grass. So again, that's a highlight. Now maybe a bit of the dark green comes from the edge. Personally, I like to work from the inside towards the edges. That way you don't accidentally bend or tear at the paper. And now the blender pencil. This is where it comes handy, since you can use a lot of pressure with the blender pencil though. You want to really get it in there to actually be moving the pigment that's already on there, not just putting another layer or something on top. Now blend outwards and highlight the very top. with the white. Now below this, let's use the spring green again. And another apple green. Let's go forwards. It gets a bit cramped towards the edges, but it's fine. Then the olive green for a bit of darkness. I alternate between the olive green and the dark green. Depends on really how bright you want the grass to look. The olive green's a bit dull compared to the dark green, which is more of this actual green. The olive green has a bit of brown in it. And once again, we'll use the apple green. This time we'll just kind of paste it in there. You know, always darken things up. It's a lot more difficult to lighten colors with color pencils than it is to darken things with color pencils. So because, you know, you put white over something, it still looks green. Well, you put white over this and it still looks green. You put black over it, it'll actually look black. Black is a very strong color pencil color. And once again, we will use a bit of the white first on this side, because I'm thinking there's like a little bump here. And then on this side. Go. Now let's just finish off the rest of the grass here. Next to the dark green. So we already had quite a coat here, but I think I'm just going to expand on this a little bit. Yeah. So back to the apple green. The apple green is a very nice color. It is most of the grass. If you want a darker grass, you can always use more dark green, or you can even use straight up grass green. Grass green goes very well with peacock green, since the grass green is a bit emeraldy. It's less yellowish than these colors that I'm using right here. It's less yellow than the apple green, which is why you can use it with peacock green. Basically, if something has blue in it, you want to use other colors that have blue with it. You're drawing a landscape. Since most of these grasses, you know, you could have it so that the grasses are all different types, but I'm thinking like most of these grasses are fairly similar, I guess. So all of these are this kind of yellow greenish kind of grass. Have lots of water. Other than Saskatchewan, which is a fairly dry province, I suppose. You don't get we don't get too much rain. I think we're classified as semi-arid. So most of the grasses here are a bit more yellow, and if you don't water them, oh boy. Of course, living in Saskatchewan is also probably why I love to draw mountains in my pictures. Because Saskatchewan has, well, the place where I live, in Saskatchewan, Saskatoon, is surrounded on all sides by a lot of fields. And there's more fields. Drawing to the nearest actual mountains takes about 8 hours. The Rockies. So drive over to Alberta past Calgary or something, and to Banff. Of course, mountains are just, a choice that I made. It's just something I like to put in there. You don't need mountains. Although mountains are a good way to fill up a bit more of your drawing. So for instance, if I don't want to... Okay, so basically sky in this technique is a bit annoying to draw because skies are all kind of the same color roughly. So you got a large area of very similar colors. And that gets very boring to draw very quickly. And the last thing we want to do is, since the sky is the last thing we draw, it's the farthest thing away, right? So, since the sky is the last thing we draw, you don't want to, ruin the otherwise really good drawing by just having a really sloppy looking sky, since you got bored of drawing that same color all over. So it's always good to maybe try to have less sky than needed. I mean, not less sky than needed, but just have maybe less sky than land. The rule of three, or the rule of thirds for photography also sort of applies in drawing. You usually don't want something to be dead center. Your point of interest could be in the center, but I would recommend it maybe not right here, but up a bit or down a bit. That way it really just looks better. If you got a person facing a certain direction, have more area. Say if I had a person who's looking here, have more space on the side of the person. Since you're giving the impression that that person is looking somewhere. So, right, let's continue on. And right here we are just using a blending stick, filling the very last areas of our foreground, this grassy, kind of hilly area. And now that we are almost done, let's just add a bit of white to highlight the grass. Oh, there's some here. Alright, and there is the foreground grassy hilled area. So that concludes part 1 of this gray paper drawing. Part 2 will come very shortly, so stay tuned. Bye.